Good afternoon. Once again, I am here to do another video, watching and listening to one of my favorite YouTubers, Mr. Ballin. He does some of the missing 411 stories, scary stories, mysterious murders, and, you know, a lot of stories about places you shouldn't go. Alright, today I am going, after reading these instructions, to use some Bondo. So this is my first try ever using Bondo. I never had to use Bondo on any of the bikes I worked on or anything, so it was the first time for me. But of course, what I'm using the Bondo on is more or less I'm learning. Like all things, I gotta learn how to do helmets better. I've got a contract coming up for a series of Space Marine helmets, and I want to up my game. Sanding and everything is really good. If you've seen any of the stuff that I've done for my Star Wars helmet that I did, it was a learning process. First glance, the helmet looks beautiful. I really like the way it turned out. I even like the fact that they used red lenses instead of black lenses. But I could have always been better. So, since I am doing my personal cosplay, is I want to do a Death Corps trooper, which I still haven't figured out how to completely do, since I'm probably going to be in a power chair. That's what I'm calling it. It's my power chair. Super power chair. Allows me to walk around like a normal human. So I'm going to be an Imperial Guardsman in a motorized throne. So, yeah. Oh well. I'll figure out something. I mean, at least I can stand for a little bit for good pictures and stuff, but regardless of whatever. Anyways, so I have printed up a German Mark II World War II helmet. See? This was originally a scaled down helmet for one of the 12-inch G.I. Joe action figures. Probably, well, not G.I. Joe, but I know it was that style of 12-inch figure. And I scaled it up so it'd fit on my fat head. So this is what I'm going to be working on. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use the Bondo to smooth out everything, fill the some printer flaws that I encountered, hide my seams, and I'm just going to apply the Bondo today. So first, so what the instructions say, don't break things, Hardy. What the instructions say is I'm supposed to take hardener, squeeze out, if I can get the cap off, squeeze out a 1 1/4 inch hardener.
And the dog immediately seemed to key in on his scent in the area where Bobby had gone missing. And the dog turns and starts running up the...
That looks about right.
Away from the campsite, so farther into
now, the next thing it says is that I'm supposed to pull out with Bondo, the gray Bondo.
And it keys in on this one area where there wasn't anything significant.
It looks like I killed a little gray.
There's nothing there. They're looking around the area. There's no indication that
fraggle rocket smells. Anyways, one golf ball sized
didn't know what to do with that information because there was nothing there. The search for Bobby was called off after 7 days because they could not find anything. And so the lead investigator came out and did this press release where he basically said, "We have no idea what happened to Bobby. However, we do think he was abducted." And his
Okay.
this was pretty straightforward. Bobby was a young kid that had no shoes on in an
well, that looks like equivalent to a golf ball.
2 minutes. So how far could he really?
Now,
certainly not far enough.
it says to
those 2 minutes were
mix
up.
for the next 3 to 4
And
minutes.
so if you go down the abduction rabbit hole, you start with, okay, a person must have taken Bobby. But for a person to take Bobby, that means a person had to be in this area that was super isolated.
The color's supposed to be the same all the way through. You're supposed to thoroughly mix this
So
stuff.
realistically, if a person was going to abduct Bobby, they had to have been planning
Now,
and had to have been hiding in the
I also went so far as to make sure to get some really nice gloves for this.
Person, runs out of the tree line.
Got some nice black gloves. You know how hard it was to get these gloves? Ever since the coof happened, trying to get your hands on alcohol, rubber gloves, alcohol and rubber gloves was a challenge. Everybody bought up everything. Everybody was fear buying and everything. So, and now there's the supply chain problems, which I find odd. I ordered from Amazon 2 products, well, 4 products. The paint that I bought for the spray gun that I bought,
in the middle of the woods, while that's possible, it's pretty unlikely. And investigators reached this conclusion. They thought, it's pretty unlikely that a person did this. So
I got to learn how to use that.
Maybe a bear took Bobby.
The chest of drawers that's behind me, since I'm still working out of my room, you'll probably find in the future that I'll probably paint more at the desk here because, my computer's right here. I can do reference photos. I can paint my kits right down at my feet. And I got my favorite tiny printer at the end of the desk. But all the other machines, like the 10 long, the TiVo, and the longer orange, or just longer, is going to be in my new workshop. Which, since I've got such a large kitchen, and I've got access to multiple drains, multiple sinks, and a lot of counter space, and a lot of area to put up more tables, I'll be moving all the big machines in there. Also gives me a good excuse to buy another one. And, as I was hoping, I have a closet now that I can put the resin printers in and buy a big-ass professional air filtration system. Well, there it is. It's all mixed. About 4 minutes. Now comes the fun part. I get to play with dough.
It was known as one of the most rugged and wild areas in the northwestern United States.
So, from other YouTube videos I've seen that do prep work like this for painting on helmets to get a really nice finish, they say I want to go thin. Smooth it on.
But after walking for several hours into the mountains, they started to notice the temperature was dropping rapidly.
Now this stuff says it's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to cure.
Keep walking a little ways, but they decided,
yeah.
You know what,
really glad I bought gloves for this. This would be so messy to clean out from underneath my nails.
When they turned around to start making their way back to their vehicle, the snow had covered over everything enough that it looked a little bit different. And they didn't have a GPS. They were using a map and compass, and they were not on a marked trail. They were just kind of walking around the mountains looking for a place to set up. And so they're walking back, and they're making turns, and they're starting to question where they are. And when they had walked for several hours in the direction they believed was back to their truck, well, they weren't anywhere near a road, and they felt like they were in an area they didn't recognize, and they realized they were lost. At this point, it was snowing really hard, and it was starting to get dark outside, and so the pair decided, you know what? We gotta stay out for the night. We're not gonna find our vehicle tonight. It's too dark, and we don't know what's happening. So we'll camp out for the night, and tomorrow we will find our vehicle. But remember, they didn't have any equipment to stay out for the night. All they
I
had
swear, even in here,
but they didn't have a structure.
I can hear them peeling out.
And so they decided their best bet was to climb up into a tree, because at least that way they're off the ground. They protect themselves from predators potentially, and the branches of the tree would kind of protect them a little bit from the snow and from the freezing rain. So that night, James Sr., James Jr., and their dog, they huddle in this tree. It's a totally sleepless, miserable night as they are just destroyed by snow and freezing rain and wind. And then finally the sun comes up the next morning, and there's a glimmer of hope, although it's still absolutely dumping snow on them. But they're thinking to themselves, this is going to make a heck of a story when we get back. And so they climb out of the tree, they stretch, they kind of, readjust themselves, and then they begin walking in a direction that they think is the direction towards their vehicle. And for several hours, they're kind of walking, hoping they're going to run into this road. They don't.
Hopefully,
at some point they realized once again that
did this
they were in the
right.
same position they were in the day before.
Cover up all the layer lines.
Now they walked even farther, potentially in the
Cover
wrong
up
direction.
all the
So they stopped for a second,
issues I
and
had.
he's trying to make sense
I might have to mix more of this.
He's trying to terrain associate the ground if there's a specific way he should be going. When his son, who was a really tough kid, didn't complain about anything, he said to his dad, I'm feeling delirious. I feel like I can't think straight. It's hard for me to stand. I'm going to sit down. And his dad's looking at him, not concerned about this, because it was a pretty miserable night the night before, and so it makes sense he might be tired. But, they had slept a full night's sleep the days leading up to this trip. They've only been out in the elements for one day. They do have warm clothes on. They do have food. They do have water. And so he figures his son will just sit down for a minute, and then he'll get back up and be rejuvenated and keep moving out. And so James Sr. continues looking at his map. He's looking around, kind of waiting for his son to say, okay, I'm ready to start moving again.
I'm going to have to mix up some more.
He's speaking in nonsense, and he can't stand up. And this was the first time that James Sr. really started to feel concerned for their actual safety. Because even the night before, when they were up in the tree, even then, it just felt like it was this crazy thing that was happening to them, and that everything would be fine. And even that morning when they got up, it was still snowing, it was still lost. He had that optimism, and so did his son. But now, thinking, okay, we are potentially staring down another night out here, and we're going to eventually run out of food and water. Our clothes are starting to get wet. The temperatures are dropping below freezing. We don't have a tent. We don't have a shelter. And now something's wrong with my son, which is concerning in and of itself. But if he can't move, then we can't make progress towards getting out of the situation. And so James Sr., who was...
All right, so...
He said, okay,
it looks like I gotta mix more of this up, and it also doesn't look like I mixed it too thoroughly.
Looking for the way out, and after 3 hours, when they had not gotten anywhere closer to a road or civilization, and it was dark out again, he collapses with his son. He puts his son down by a tree. He sits down next to him, and he's totally defeated. And he's like, we got to get ready for another night. We got to get back up in the tree. We got to do this again. And so as they're sitting there kind of talking about how they're going to get James Jr. up into it, take his shoes and socks off.
All right, got more mixed up, and I learned an important thing already. This stuff starts to set really quick.
James Jr. up and walks away. In early July of 1953, Mr. and Mrs. Huggin, along with their 3 young daughters, left their home in Winnipeg, Canada, for a 6-week summer vacation. They were headed to the girls' grandparents' summer cabin in
So I'm going to try my best to
one of the
just
more remote and
quickly lob all this stuff
Their
on.
cabin was right in the middle of this huge swampy forest, and they were not too far from one of the biggest lakes in Ontario called Fox Lake. The family arrived late on July 4th, so they didn't do anything when they arrived. They just hung out at the cabin. And then early the next day, all the adults decided they wanted to take the girls to Fox Lake for the day. So they began gathering all the supplies they would need while the 3 girls were inside the cabin. Now, there's no neighbors or anybody else anywhere near this cabin.
Yeah.
And so it was totally
This is not.
The girls were not concerned.
This is turning out to be.
So the 2 older girls played in the front yard of the cabin, and Geraldine, the 5-year-old, was playing on the side of the cabin. So the 2 girls in front couldn't see Geraldine, and the adults, they were keeping their eye on all 3 girls, but they were mostly kind of going in and out of the cabin, getting their stuff together, periodically poking their head up, but the girls were fine. At 10 a.m. that morning, the parents had finally packed up the car, and they were ready to collect the girls to head over to the lake. And so they went outside, they got the 2 girls that were out front, and they went to the side of the house, and they couldn't find Geraldine. Now, they weren't worried because where could she have gone? And so they walked around the house, they're yelling at Geraldine, and they asked the 2 girls, have you seen Geraldine? Where'd she go? And they're like, oh, we don't know. She was just over on the side of the house a minute ago. And so they can't find her outside. So they go in the cabin thinking she must have gone in there because that's the only place she could be. But after thoroughly looking through the cabin and not finding her, they started to get a little bit more worried. At this point, the adults start talking to each other and they're saying, did anybody see Geraldine in the past couple of minutes? Has anybody seen her? And they all said, yeah, I poked my head out the window and I saw her within the past 10 minutes right on the side of the cabin. And so they all agreed within the past 10 minutes they had seen her right outside the cabin. So they're alarmed they can't find her, but they're thinking we're going to find her. They go back outside
In the
and
future,
and yelling for her. Now this is such a
make sure to
section of Ontario.
mix this a lot better.
Noise pollution and sound travels really, really well. And so when they were yelling her name, it was booming through the woods. And even if Geraldine had, sprinted for 10 minutes away from the cabin, she still easily would have been within earshot. And all she had to do was just, yell back and they would see her. But she didn't yell back, and there was no sign of her anywhere. And so at this point, the family is panicking, and so they call the police. The police show up, and they're looking around thinking, we're not going to be able to search this very effectively on our own. This is a huge, wild, remote section of Canada. And so they called in some professional trackers that were familiar with this area to come in and help them with their search. They also called the Army in Winnipeg to send over some people to assist. But as soon as the search started, the skies opened up and dumped rain all over the entire area, basically washing away any footprints that they could have used to potentially find her. As the day wore on and the sun was starting to set and there was still no sign of Geraldine, her father said something to the searchers that was intended to help them find his daughter, but it was just this incredibly heartbreaking comment. And what he told them was his daughter was afraid of the dark, and that once it got dark out in the woods here, she's just going to sit down and cry. And so that will stop her from moving farther away from us, hopefully, and we should be able to find her. But they didn't. And for 3 days, they looked everywhere for her, and there was no trace of her.
Okay.
To make matters even worse,
Note to self
cold, not below
for the
freezing
future.
close, like in the 40-degree Fahrenheit range. And she just had a light shirt and shorts on. She was not prepared for the weather. On the evening of the 3rd day, they found footprints that they believed to be Geraldine's high up on the ledge in some moss overlooking Fox Lake. Footprints indicated that this child, which was probably Geraldine,
this stuff
was looking
really
out
does
over
start to
the lake
set
and then
really
turned
quick.
around and walked away from the ledge down into the swamp.
Okay, so I think I got the entire helmet, and I have half cured Bondo all over the place.
On the 7th day of the search, they find another set of footprints in the swamp around the area where they were looking for Geraldine. But it wasn't Geraldine's footprints because they were these huge prints. That if it was a human print, they would need to be an enormous human being. Or these prints belonged to some enormous animal, but they were unable to determine what animal.
Okay.
At this point, although there's not really any real evidence
there it is.
that print to Geraldine,
Finally did it.
Starting to suspect that whoever left this print or whatever left this print has something to do with whatever happened to Geraldine. 2 days later, so 9 days after Geraldine has gone missing, some of the professional trackers were 2.5 miles away from where that large print was found in that swamp and where Geraldine's footprints were found up on that ledge. They found a piece of her plaid.
If you can see it, I left streaks and
so they pushed the search effort.
It's the spot, but you know what? I'm not mixing up anything more. Alright. Well.
There was very little left of Geraldine, and from what was left, it was clear there had been significant animal predation.
We'll let this cure. It's 20 or so, 30 minutes overnight. I think I'm just going to let it cure overnight.
On her clothes. So the animal predation had most likely occurred after she was deceased, because they would have been able to...
I can't even really get this stuff on quick enough.
If it had been a wolf attack, they would have cut right through the clothes, and there would be marks that obviously, she was attacked by animals. But Geraldine's remains appeared to have been dragged...
Hey, if you guys know better Bondo to use than this that allow me a little bit more time to work with it, just add in the comments down below. I may, depending on how well it fills the cracks,
and so investigators are like, well, we found that large footprint.
I may have to do this again and redo everything.
And we thought they might be connected.
All right.
And now we're
well,
a large,
that's it for this part.
In this meadow that's right near where Geraldine left that print in the swamp.
Oh my God!
Is the same one that left this print here in the meadow, and therefore is.
All right, hold on a minute. I'll let this cure overnight and be right back with you.
The first one was...
All right, so I've let it cure for a while, and got it all covered, and ready to be sand. So I couldn't find my other filter mask, so I'm just using the COVID mask I made. 'Cause this is gonna be dusty as heck. Alright, so I can't wait to get this done and just get the first coat of paint on it. I can't wait to see the finish. Alright, so I'm gonna get started. And hopefully in editing I'll be able to fast forward through this next part. Do high speed camera. Woo! Fuck it. Curious. I wonder how well the Dremel will work. I want to really get some of the burrs off of here before I start sanding. Okay. I think I can get back to hand sanding now. So far, kind of like it. Of course, hopefully, you can just see the layer lines, like right through here. You can still see where the layer lines are, but I'm hoping that'll smooth out more. This is going to take a lot longer than a few minutes. Okay, so I'm going to sand this down and then show you the finished part of all the sanding later, sometime later. I'm almost done with this. Oh my god. I am so freaking messy. You know, this shirt was black when I started. So far, it's coming along. I've discovered that I like using my Dremel and sand block a lot more than I like trying to use palm sander. Alright, so I have finished somewhat,
guess what's in that box right there. So
and I'm listening to my second favorite YouTube personality. It's Jimmy. He keeps everyone informed about the latest stimulus news.
The CDC has just announced that booster shots for
totally
all American adults
white all over. So I have finished
COVID.
Sanding.
Yeah, so now you don't have to have.
I might do a couple more passes with some finer grit.
As of 6
but
Eastern. Yeah, so booster shots for the COVID vaccines are now available to anyone in the U.S. over the age of 18. After the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, Director Rochelle Walensky signed
it has
off
turned
on
out exactly how I wanted it to. As you can see here, you got your print lines, your layer lines, and the Bondo has filled up
for a booster
like
dose.
right here, the little valley between the two major print lines.
Among experts who should
so that when it's painted, well, I'm hoping, because this is still my first attempt at this, that it will come out and look like one solid, smooth piece.
The CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices said that
it is
adults are
eligible. It is like 1 in the morning here, and I'm just getting finished with this.
That everyone
so
over the age of 50
I am going to paint this tomorrow.
Adults have the clearest benefit from a booster
I think I'm going to just go with a standard
panel set.
Black.
And also less risk of a severe side effect from myocarditis.
I'm not really sure. Maybe the Space Marine, the Imperial Guard helmet is green or OD green.
Authorized boosters of
or black.
Pfizer
I'm not really sure. I have a lot of Imperial Guard.
Quote, booster shots have demonstrated the ability to safely increase people's protection against the infection.
I have a lot of Imperial Guard, and I've always painted the helmets
and
black.
Are an important public tool to strengthen our defenses against the virus.
See where the line got filled in.
Holidays.
Really nice,
Based on the
right there.
Evidence, all
filled it in just nice.
Should now have an equitable access to the COVID booster dose.
Well,
here is the
I'll add the next part of this, or I'll do the next part of this, putting the first primal coat on here, prime coat on here,
plateaued and leveled off
and then
yesterday we had 119,043 people test positive. The 7-day
this latest project of mine turned out the way I expected it.
People. So we are on our
what
way
do you want to
back
bet?
up.
It's not going to turn out the way I expected it.
Okay, that's people testing positive.
Stuff rarely, if ever, does.
Specifically in Michigan, for example, that was just in the article. You can see
how this goes tomorrow. All right, so it actually has been quite some time since I filmed the prior part of this video, I've had a lot of stuff come up on my plate. I just accepted a new contract to make 2 new helmets. One is for the cosplay for the Black Templar Chaplain that I've been talking about, that I've done previous work for. The other one is for a Ultramarines Mark 6 helmet. And like I said, I think that's... I'm pretty sure the guy wants it for Ultramarines. Also, my one customer that takes forever to send me an email has finally told me what exactly he wants me to craft for him for his... I believe it's his... whatever he wants to do, it's his fun. Sisters of Battle. So, I've had a lot of stuff come on my plate lately to keep me from filming the rest of this. But, I will blather on if I don't stop at some point. So here it is. There's what it looks like. All finished. I went with the, instead of the Double Eagle Aquila, I just went with the standard skull and wings Aquila. And there's the finish. All with its, it's not perfectly smooth, but it does kind of give the kind of rippled effect of pot steel, so I'm not complaining about it. You can still see there's some layer lines here that I just was not able to eliminate. Like I said, this is my first try at actually producing a helmet in this fashion using TiVo Tornado to 3D print the German Mark IV helmet, and then using 3 different methods of sanding, from a grinder wheel, sponge, hand sanding, and then wire brush finishing. Well, wire brush finishing to start off with, then the different sanding methods. And finished off with Bondo to hide the small seams and the layer lines, and I think for my first roll attempt turned out pretty nice. I've still got to finish the interior. I didn't even bother to paint the interior, but I need a chin strap. I gotta go. Fortunately, I've got an Army-Navy store right down the road from me, so I can probably go in there and ask them, hey, I've made this helmet. I need chin strap to go into 4 holes here. But yeah, first try doing this, and I don't think it turned out all that bad. Of course, I'm the crafter here, so as far as I'm concerned, I could do this perfectly, and I will still see the flaws I did, the things I messed up on. But when I started doing calligraphy and scroll illumination in the SCA, I had the same opinion. But I was told multiple times that what you think is imperfect, other people aren't going to see. You've got to come to a point where you are just finished with the work. You could sit there and redo your project, redo whatever you're working on countless times, because as far as you're concerned, it will never be perfect. But to other people, what you consider not perfect is perfect to them. And after all, what I do when I make cosplay for people, I'm only interested in is if they like my work, if they are satisfied with it. if they think it's good. I may think it's a piece of trash that I didn't do my finest work on and looks all horrible and there's countless flaws all over it. The customer is going to look at it and go, that is awesome, I love it. So, you know, at some point, it's just, I've got to stop obsessing over perfection. But even with that set aside, I can still tell there's a lot of things in here that, as a first attempt, yeah, this is good. But I need to do it more because you can't really make it out, but you can just barely see that seam on there. I had thought I had covered it, but I didn't notice that until I started painting. I went back and watched later on, after I noticed this, some other tutorials on this and how to do this with helmets. One of the steps that I skipped, that I just didn't do apparently, paint it or base coat it with Filicrack. That I did do. Then sand it, paint it, or sand it, put down your Bondo to smooth it out, sand that down, then paint it, and look for stuff like this. Then refill, sand it again, paint it. Like I said, I did not notice these two major, now that I got the light on them, two major lines until after I painted. So, I wanted to get this done because, you know, unless you're going to look at me from the top down all the time, you're probably not going to notice these. And since this is really a project for me, for my Imperial Guardsman cosplay that I'm working to put together, I'm happy with it. I don't want to obsess over it that much, but it is something that I wanted to try and start to get the feel of. Because now that I'm starting to get more requests from regular customers for helmets and stuff, you know, they expect a certain level. And when I'm just dreading the moment I get a request to do a ARC Trooper helmet or a TIE Fighter pilot helmet or what's another good one? Well, yeah, any of the Space Marine helmets that I'm currently working on. You just barely hear it whining in the background. But now that I am more familiar with what I'm working with, and I've had a chance to build it and make sure I know what I'm doing and get a feel for the medium, I'm more confident about what I'm going to be doing to finish off the helmets. And if my work on all the other cosplay props that I've done for customers is any example, then my finished product is going to be perfectly acceptable to them. I, on the other hand, are still going to see problems with it, no matter what I do. Alright, so that's the last part of this video. And sorry it's taken so long to get another video out. But like I said, I got more orders coming in already. Plus, I just accepted from a friend of mine to refurbish this Moss 46. Apparently, the man's safe is not waterproof, and when your ceiling collapses due to rain, your gun safe probably got good and flooded. So there's plenty of humidity in the gun case, and it's about a bunch of rust to clean up. Oh, so I got a lot of work on my plate. Ren Fair's coming up, so I have to dedicate time to that. Got orders to fill, guns to clean, multiple ones. And I probably won't have much time to do any videos on any of my channels for at least the next 3 months. And then I go off to Gulf Wars that I can't fight anymore because my knees are broke. I miss my armor. My armor felt like a second skin. If you've ever heard of the style, I wore segmented plates and chainmail in spots with a hinged full dome helmet, and I fought sword and shield. 10-pound helmet, 9-pound shield. The lightest part was like the sword at only like a couple of pounds. The total kit of armor was 110 pounds of armor. And I would run football fields charging and fighting after people the entire freaking day in that armor. It was a blast. I don't care what anybody says. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I really miss doing it. But now I get to go on vacation and trade old guy war stories, sit around a campfire and drink and flirt with beautiful maidens. Yeah. I'm more than happy to work on my venerable soldier shtick. I have finally earned that prestige class, so I've got the prerequisites for it. I'm gonna go ahead and get it. Also, I get to sit around and have a great time with my adopted family, Thunder. Rolling Thunder. Love these people. I'm in a specialized group of lovely individuals. I'm with Gypsy Thunder. But we're all Thunder family, so. And they make the best Thunder Punch. That stuff will sneak up on you. Alright, well, I want to get one more video out on my 3D Smoker channel, so I gotta bustle on, wrap this up, and get over there. Which is pretty much turning the camera around and different music. Okay, everybody. If you've watched this far, thank you very much for watching this entire video. Please remember to like and subscribe. Comment down below on anything you see that you like, you want me to do, you have questions about. Hell, just say hi. I don't care. Just comment, subscribe, like me, share me with your friends. Share me to the people that say, hey, I don't like 3D printing, but hey, what's that Delta 8 stuff about? Well, hey, you go check out this dude's channel, the 3D Smoker. He'll tell you. Well, I don't know if I'm really into, Delta 8 and Delta 10 products that are legal in my state. Thank you, Florida. Thank you, Mr. Trump. I want to know about video games. I want to see what, kind of like somebody just goofing around on video games would play. Hello. It's called The Absurd Gamer. I game a lot. So I decided to make a channel about me gaming a lot. One of the new ones that I'm getting talked into playing New World. So here soon, I'm going to take an adventure on The Absurd Gamer and see what New Worlds is like. I'm kind of excited. I found out there's a lot of crafting to do, and I can roam around an open world with a musket and hunt like I was, 1700s musket. I even saw a uniform of a colonial like a colonial officer's uniform. I was like, tricorn hat and everything, and a musket? Sure. So I'm going to try out Amazon's new gaming experience. Open world mass multiplayer. That apparently you can either go player versus environment or player versus player anywhere. It just depends if you're flagged or not. And I haven't been in a game like that since Star Wars Galaxies. I know, old school. I was talking to one of the people that's in my roommate's guild, and we were talking about Star Wars Galaxies, and he's like, "You mean Galaxies of Heroes?" No. Sony's Star Wars Galaxies. It was an online game. And he's like, "I've never heard of it." Suddenly it dawns on us to ask, "Well, how old are you?" He says, 23. I'm like, damn, yeah, that was... I'm not surprised. This was like quite a while ago. I think maybe this game was popular when you were like 5 or 6 maybe. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me you don't know anything about it. I don't know where I'm going with that story. But, word soup! So I'm just going to end on my standard inning. The 5th inning. Remember to print anything you want. Print everything you like. One important lesson. Just have fun printing. I'll see y'all later.